And while I leave,
Yeah, you can leave when it's time. All right. Okay, so the recording started, guys. So welcome back. So what I'd like to do in this part of the session here, besides just introductions, is and we'll get back to those animal selections that you all made. We'll have a little discussion about that. Unfortunately, Xavier, we'll have to do that in your absence. So you'd have to agree or disagree with what I have to say about your animal selection afterwards in the next class that you attend. Um, so the first thing that I'm going to do is share my screen so that we can see what's going on here. So this is the e-classroom here that you should be familiar with. And what I would recommend is, let me just switch roles to student. All right, so this is what you should be seeing. I know it's probably a little small. All right. So in the general resources, the things that you need to look at getting is these two textbooks to download them because they're going to be kind of critical for us moving forward. Not kind of critical, very critical. So the texts look like this. We might open up textbooks. All right, so this one here is the key textbook that we're going to be utilizing. This is the Exploring Leadership by Comives, Lucas, and McMahon. So this is, we're going to be doing a lot of the material from this particular textbook. And of course, we're going to supplement that with chapters out of the leadership experience by Daft. We're sticking to this edition of the Daft because of copyright issues with the newer version. So that's why you can get the download copies here. So these are the two textbooks that you're going to be utilizing for the course. And they're, as I said, they're available on the course outline itself, on the course page itself. So today, now additionally, this document was also submitted on the e-classroom. That's down here. Course schedule and assignment details. And we have some work to do with this document today, but we're going to go through it as well. There are other things here. The overall course outline, which you can go through and read on your own. Personality test questionnaire, the interpretation for it, concept map for the course itself. This is an online personality test. Did any of you all come here and visit during the week and try out these things? Downloaded these things? Yes, no, maybe?
I looked at them, but I didn't download it as yet.
Yes, I started with the which book it was. The first one, I read that the first 2 pages or something.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it was interesting. I don't know how I
Okay.
was learning, but
uh, I don't think it's a matter of
I know we have
um,
to dive into it, so I didn't bother to. I just wanted to see what it's about.
all right, cool. No worries. All right, so the yeah, but as I said before, um, this document here is what we're going to be paying attention to today for the greater part of what we're going to be doing. So the course is divided into a number of activities. Um, So it starts off here. I have my email addresses. Now you're submitting your course work on the e-classroom, but the email addresses are available here. In the event you want to communicate with me this via the you about any other issues that you may come across. And what we're going to be looking at are the activities that make up the class in terms of assessments. Because generally when people talk about any course, they want to understand how am I being assessed, what is the keys to success for this class and getting through it. Now, basically what's going to happen is that you all are going to engage in what we call, and I'm going to go straight down to here to the descriptors, to chapter presentations. And what's going to happen is going to put you all into different groups. And because we're a small class, we have to see until the end of the add drop period if you get any new students coming in. But I'm going to assign you all into 5 different groups and assign chapters to you guys and set up a protocol for it. So our drop ends on March the 12th, which is next week or so, I believe. March the 12th, yeah, next week, Sundays. All right. All right, hold on a second, guys. I have to deal with something here. What is it? Hold a second. Oh. All right, sorry about that, guys. What were we looking at? All right, so we were looking at the assessments that are going on. So for 30%, basically what we're going to be doing is we're going to be splitting you up into groups and you're going to be taking chapters on your own, well, I should say in your little groups, and you're going to be presenting to the class. Now, you're not just presenting, you're teaching the class the various chapters that you're going to be assigned. And the way it's organized is that every week from 28th of March moving forward, we'll have 2 chapter presentations, allotting to each group up to an hour and a half each to present the chapters. Now, so it's a teaching presentation. So what we have to understand here is that, yes, you expect that your classmates would read the chapters that they are that they're not presenting, but I know people are probably going to focus more on the chapters that they are presenting rather than the chapters that they're not. So the idea is that you need to be able to explain to the class the key issues and concerns or content coming from each of the chapters that you've been assigned. Basically teaching others the way you would like to be presented to or thought in the future. So in terms of how the course is assessed, in terms of your presentation, the key thing is looking at your content coverage. You must cover all salient content from the chapters. Now, some chapters are very dense with information and therefore they will take a little more time. But other chapters may not have as much density, but still would require detailed explanations. Now, it's going to be up to you to determine what is salient and what is not. Be careful of that because the way these books are written, if you read them, you realize that there's nothing in the chapters, probably except the little examples and illustrations, that's not important from the perspective of the um, the text itself. Let me just do something here that might make this a little easier for me to. Can you all see this? Is it big enough to see what's going on? I just want to pay attention to the side chat here in case people have questions that they want to ask. So 60% of your marks is going to be on how you go about covering the content, what examples you utilize. Now, you can use examples from the text itself, but I would encourage you to find your own personal examples from within the life of our experiences here collectively in Trinidad and Tobago. And that is where we'll start to look at how clear your explanations would be in relation to the content that you're dealing with. You're supposed to make recommendations, and of course, as with any presentation, there's an introduction and a conclusion to it, so you want to be able to conclude what's going on. Then we're going to be looking at your style of delivery, in terms of how you went about delivering the content. And style is a kind of personalized thing when it comes to people as they're working in groups and stuff like that. The quality and degree of, here we have a new person coming in. Hi, Kalisha. Welcome. Kalisha. Hello.
Hi, good afternoon, sir.
Hi, good evening. Welcome. You kind of missed out the beginnings, but I'm recording right now. But I want to ask you some questions. Kalisha, what program are you doing?
So I'm doing radiography.
Okay. We have a couple of radiographers in this group. How far into your program are you?
I'm in my first year, second semester.
All right, so you just started sort of like a brand new student. Okay, and last question, and this will come back at the end. What animal would you like to be if you could be an animal? Now, you shouldn't be really looking at other people's choices, but let me just put that down. If you can
So
be
a
any,
parrot.
a parrot?
Yeah.
Why a parrot?
I like birds.
You like birds? Okay, all right. And any reason why a parrot?
I don't know, because I could fly.
All right, okay. Parrots are noisy though. That's a different thing. All right, thanks a lot, Felicia.
So,
You kind of missed.
I
Yeah.
apologize for being late. I had some Wi-Fi issues.
Okay, that's understandable. I understand that. But thanks for coming. Kind of pay attention what's going on. This is the first assessment that we were looking at here. It's the chapter presentations that you'd be put into groups to deal with throughout the semester. Well, not throughout the semester, but you'd see the dates here for those. So once you are delivering the content from the chapters, I'm going to be looking at the style of your delivery. What we're looking at styles that make it easy for us to follow and understand what's going on, conversational approaches to things, quality and degree of class interaction. So you have to make allowances for students participating in a broad sense with the discussion that's going on. I'm going to be looking at how well you've utilized whatever presentation aids. Now, primarily because you're doing your presentations online, we're going to be looking at the quality of your PowerPoint presentations and how well you can manipulate and utilize them to meet your requirements. And we're also going to be looking at your ability to do your presentation and hold it down to the time frame necessary that you're utilizing. 15 marks is also going to be set aside for appropriate use of citation. So most of the content that you're going to be dealing with is going to come out of the text. In the text, there's in-text citation that you should utilize with the content that you're dealing with. But if you're going to utilize other material outside the textbook to help support, so you could use images, videos, and that kind of stuff, there should be other forms of citation that you utilize. The format that we're looking at here is APA format. So we can have a discussion about that in more details moving forward. In terms of how you go about doing what you're doing. All right. Any questions about this, the chapter presentations? This is 30% of your final grade, so it's a big chunk. So it's something that you want to be doing quite well with the program. And of course, I'm here to help you, work on trying to get your chapter presentations done well. All right. Now, the second assessment, 15 marks, will actually comes up at the end of the semester, where we'll be, as a class, generating a discussion about a debate over Well, because of the size of this class, we may just debate one of these topics. Most of these topics are what we call in the field of leadership. They are topics that are important for us to tackle because we have the issue of leaders, the concept of people being born leaders as opposed to developing leadership skills. That's still something that a lot of people have a lot of doubt about. This course will address a lot of that. So therefore, that's one of the main topics that we are going to engage in debating activities with. The gender issue when it comes to leadership in the world is also something that we're also engaged with. That's where we talk about men making better leaders than women. So that's a topic for debate there. And the other one is transformational leadership and all right, somebody just dropped off there. Transformational leadership and transactional leadership. This has to do with leadership styles and techniques and looking at which ones are the best for people. All right, so later on, after we've dealt with the vast majority of content, we'll get to this, and it's something that we're going to spend a fair amount of time dealing with and getting with. The deadline or the date for that debate is actually set up for the last teaching class, which is June the 6th, for the exercise to take place, the live exercise to take place. All right. So let's move on. Any questions about that? I mean, you're probably going to have a lot more questions, but as I said, we're going to be dealing with this in more detail later on in the semester after we've dealt with all the content issues. Now, when we finish with all the chapter presentations, we'll then engage in a midterm assessment. That is going to take place after the last presentation from the 25th of April to the 9th of May. It's about 2 to 3 weeks that I'm giving you to work on that midterm exercise. The midterm exercise is the form of a couple of questions that you're going to be looking at, and these questions are going to ask you to reflect upon specific content coming out of the course that that you apply to your everyday life. And that's something that you probably want to be looking at. And as we deal with the content, it's going to force you or ask you to try to relate this to your day-to-day life and see how much of it applies or how it applies in your life as we speak. So it's going to call a lot upon you reflecting upon your past experiences with certain types of activities or certain types of things that are going on, and it's going to require that you are respond it in writing and sort of like discuss the whole issue with it. Again, the question is not set up as yet, I should say, the questionnaire, but where you submit your assignments is here. So the mid-semester assessment comes in here. There are no comments yet. So you had added some, but what I'll do is I'll have a file with the questions that will be submitted here for you to download so that you'll be able to look at the whole thing there. So that's your submission point. Additionally, when you do your presentations, your group presentation documents, which would be primarily is going to be a PowerPoint presentation. I would say to you, you'd submit that here, but you'll submit it after you've completed your presentation and gotten some feedback on it. All right, so the way it is going to work is that I will, after you finish your presentation, I will give you feedback immediately upon completion as to what you did and how you scored, and that will give you an idea of what you need to do, if anything, moving forward. All right. So the feedback on that will be immediate. The debate is going to be similar. The mid-semester exercises is something that's going to take time to mark and then come back up on the system and so on. Now, the fourth piece of assessment is something called self-analysis. So this is something you can actually start working on immediately because this doesn't really depend heavily on the content that we're going to be looking at, but what it looks at is really how it's an autobiography that you're going to generate that describes in a fair amount of detail how you have arrived at being the person you are so far today, to date. So this is where it starts with, looking back at your family history, um, your family's traditions and customs, how those things have influenced you as an individual and your perception of leadership, because the first leaders that you're going to come across in your life would be your parents, possibly, older siblings, teachers, and so on. Those are things that help you to develop your own ideas of what leadership is all about. Um, then we want you to look back and reflect upon when you think you've ever realized your own leadership potential, when that has happened. Um, who and what experiences has influenced your values and philosophies? Now, people usually have a little problem with question 5 and 6, thinking that they're about the same thing, but they're not. What we're talking about here is the people who have influenced your values and philosophies. So somebody like your mom or your dad might be somebody who has, or maybe your church or your school has influenced their value systems and the way in which you view the world around you, especially the world of leadership. Um, Question 6 is asking more about critical incidents that may have occurred in your life that has transformed you, or critical individuals that you have met that may have signaled significant change in your life. So it might be a friend, it could be somebody that became very important, like teachers, or it could be some incident that took place, some milestone in your life, or some occurrence like losing somebody along those kind of things, or some incident that may have happened with you that you can reflect upon and see whether or not that has had an impact upon you in terms of how you've gone about becoming the person you are today. Now that self-analysis is going to be um, something that you want to be looking at in a fair amount of detail, so that there's no word limit on this particular activity, so that you're going to have to spend some time doing this. The way it's marked is based on an introduction and conclusion. Marks are allocated to your responses to the questions. Um, there's also some marks for the side for use of language, grammar, and spelling and punctuation. The way you organize the document, so it looks like something that is like a little book, a little publication about you, and you are free to utilize different things like images, photographs, um, poems. If there are things you're using that are not of um, your own, meaning they originate from you, like photographs and images or quotations, then you have to do citation. But the expectation is that the vast majority of the work should be from your own point of view, yourself. So that is something that you can. I don't expect that there will be a great need for citation for this assignment, but where you do use things that are that require citation, please make sure you do so, because you can lose marks for that. That's just in terms of the mechanics of what you're doing. The more important element is the reflection that you spend, um, and the analysis of your reflection, because it's not just subjectively looking at what's happened in your life. It's going to be where you are paying attention to being a little critical about yourselves and being analytical about reflecting on your past life to work out, why you are the person you are today, and how you've arrived at that. Any questions in relation to this? All right, so some feedback might be useful here, guys.
Just this can be submitted anytime or
No, it can't. I am giving you until the end of the semester to submit it. So the
okay.
absolute deadline for this is the 18th of June, which is the week after classes end. So it's a work in progress that you can start now, but it is going to take time. If you really follow through with the exercise, it's going to take time to get this done. All right.
So you can go back to the criteria. I saw that they put font, but it didn't really specify.
Font. Appropriate font is one of the things that we look at in your document. So you notice that all of this stuff is nice and easy to read.
Right.
But sometimes people choose styles of fonts that make it very difficult to read, especially all the way through. Another element is double line spacing. I need that because you see the size of glasses I wear, right? So try and help me out there a little bit. Double line spacing.
No, sorry for the background.
Then think about it. If I have to sit and read all of your work, it is a little, thing. So it's about how you organize your document. You have 10 marks set aside for that out of it. So 10 marks for use of language, 10 marks for the organization of document, but the vast majority is going to be 40%. 40 out of the 60 is, or 2/3 of your mark is about the content and your reflections. The 20, that 33% there is really just about how you express yourself, your comfort level with language and that type of stuff, and how you put your document together in terms of its presentation. So as I said, this is something that you can begin now. But go through the let's do a couple of chapters first, and then you start to look at it. And if you're having challenges, you feel free to communicate with me and get clarification on things. If you're having any sort of doubts about what's happening and so on. All right. Now that then leads us to the very last one, which is reflections on leadership action plan. So basically what you're looking at here is reflecting on the course after we've completed all the material and after we completed most of the stuff, and looking at how the course itself has impacted upon you throughout the semester. So you'd see the questions here. There is, however, one question that you can answer this minute. As you commence this course, question 1, as you commence this course, reflect on what are your expectations of the course, your lecturer, and yourself. So what I would like you all to do is to start a document now. What I'd like you all to do is to start a document now and call it your Reflections and Leadership Action Plan for now. All right. And write something now and save it and put it away. All right. In terms of answering question 1, because you're going to be writing. After that, at the end of the course, you have to review your expectations at the beginning and comment on it in terms of your expectations been met? Have they not been met? Where have they not been met? And so on. You have to reflect upon that and see how that works out. That makes sense? So you understand why question 1 is something that you could do right now, this minute actually. All right. Again, if you look through the questions are going to be looking at how was the course impacted upon you? How has the content impacted upon not only what your thought processes are, but also in terms of some of your actions and behaviors, your philosophy, your thinking. So those are the things that it's going to be asking about, and it's going to ask you to reflect upon it. And the marking scheme is similar to what we saw before, again, because it's a reflective document. It's going to have an introduction, it's going to have a conclusion. Each question that has been suggested for you to follow in terms of responding carries some marks. And of course, I'm assigning some use of language marks and document organization. Again, all documents for academic purposes have to have title pages, page numbers, content, tables of contents, and that kind of stuff once they meet those types of requirements. So those are the things I'm looking for in terms of that. Those are all the assignments that you're doing for your thing. You'll notice that there's no exam. So the content is not going to be examinable in the traditional sense, but it's examinable from reflections and from us being able to look at it and try and relate the information back to our lives on an everyday basis. Everything so far so good?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
All right.
Yes, sir.
Now the schedule here outlines the deadlines for all of these things. So for every presentation, we have a deadline date that's in red on the side here. And then the midterm exercise, we have dates for that. The debate exercise, we have that. Your self-analysis and leadership. Now once you think you've completed these, your self-analysis, you can in fact submit it well before the end of the deadline date. Now, there's a reason why I'm asking you to submit everything by June 18th, because I have until the 2nd of July to read all that stuff, mark it, and upload your grades on the system by the 2nd of July. That's not a lot of time, and I have 5 classes with lots of other students work to be able to go and do. So it takes me time to really go through and read your contributions and read your work. So that's why I'm asking you all to, try to meet the deadlines. If you're having serious issues, then fine, I understand, and I'll try to cut you some slack. But you need to communicate with me and let me know what's going on, which is one of the reasons why we have the WhatsApp chat group for you to be able to communicate with us, with me in particular, and with other members of your class fairly easily without having to stress about it. I hope everybody here, Kalisha, I think, is it Alaha? That's how we pronounce your surname,
Yes, sir.
right? Did you join the WhatsApp chat group yet?
Yes, sir.
Okay, cool. So that way we can communicate quickly, and you could also communicate privately. You could privately message me because my number's there for you to communicate with me. In the event that you want clarification or you're having any sort of issues or problems crop up, because life is like that, things happen. You can get into that and speak to me about it. All right. Do you have any questions about any of the exercises, or you want to kind of go through things and then get back to me in a different class and ask questions about it? No, yes,
Sir,
maybe.
So I understand so far, but if anything that I don't understand later on, I'll try to contact you.
Right? Or you can bring it up in a class discussion, because you may think it's only you, but other people might be having. Now, there's no, I always say this, there's no stupid questions. Just ask it, because other people may be having similar issues to you. All right. Okay. Now, what we want to do at this point in time is, because we have a limited number of students, we only have 11 students in the class so far. So we have to develop a strategy to be able to deal with the 10 presentations that have to go on. Now, the minimum size that I can set up for presentations is 2. Now, my thinking is this, and I need some feedback from you guys in terms of this. If I set up 5 groups from the 11 of you, so that means 1 group of 3 and 4 groups of 2, and we farm out presentations 1 to 5, and then 6 to 7. Hold a second, guys. All right, guys. So all right. So everybody's kind of clear on what they need to be doing, right? So my question is how do we go about setting up these teams? One of the things I'd like to do is I'd like you guys to kind of volunteer. So so basically what it's going to say is we're going to assign the 5 groups to 2 sets of presentations initially. If we do get more students coming in, depending upon how many coming in, because generally when we set a class up for this, we usually have about 30 students. So there's a chance that we can get some more students coming, but I want to be prepared from the beginning to be able to deal with this issue. All right. So all right. I have a bit of an emergency here, guys. Sorry about that. All right. So now we do have 2 people still absent, and I don't want to. No, I don't know Rampo, but I know Miss Williams. Miss Williams is quite good. I don't want to lump them into one group. I need to split them up into 2 groups. So that in the event that there's some fallout with them, we have a different, we can plan around them. All right, this is the current. Refresh this, see if anybody else. All right, no change so far. All right. Okay, so let's look at the chapter titles, and that might give you an idea of what you might think about, what you might like to deal with. So presentation 1, understanding self, presentation 2, or chapter 4. Presentation 1 is chapter 4 of the text. So basically what's going to happen is that I am going to, over the next 3 weeks, deal with unit 1 or part 1 of the book, which is chapters 1 to 3. So from the 7th, the 14th, and the 21st of March, I will be dealing with that. From next week, we're looking at chapter 1, then chapter 2, and chapter 3. And that gives you all time to, work on your own chapters and so on, and then moving forward from there. So presentation 1 is going to be chapter 4 of the main text, which is the exploring leadership. That's this one here. Understanding self, then chapter 5, understanding others, then chapter 6, which is the third presentation, integrity and moral purpose, and then chapter 4, teams and groups. Then chapter 5 brings us, or presentation 5, I should say, brings us our first chapter from the DART textbook, which would be going over from courage and moral leadership is very similar to integrity and moral purpose. So it's a different take on one of the same concepts from the other book. So your 2 views of it from that particular potential, from 2 different authors' positions. Then we're looking at presentation 6. We're going back to the exploring leadership, and we're going to be dealing with being in communities. And then chapter 8, complex organizations. Both of these coming back from the exploring leadership text. Then we go back to the DART for presentations 8, 9, and 10. So presentation 8 is about vision and strategic direction. Presentation 9 is power and influence. And presentation 10 is leading change, which kind of wraps up everything. Now, every class will have 2 presentations, which means you have up to an hour and a half for each chapter. But as I said before, sometimes you may use less time because the chapter is not as dense in terms of the content. But other chapters, especially the chapters coming from the DAF, tend to be a little more dense, and therefore you're going to need all of that time to be able to do a comprehensive presentation of the material. Chapters 1 to 3 are quite dense in terms of their information. Chapter 1 is probably the least dense. But chapters 2 and 3 are going to be pretty heavy because they cover a lot of material from the chapters and a lot of material across the board, as it lays the foundation for the model that we're going to be looking at here. All right. Okay, now I've said a lot of here, so let's start to look at how we assign people into groupings here in terms of the presentations. So chapter 1, presentation 1 and 2, anybody seeing any sort of things that they might like to look at? So feedback time, guys.
Yes, sir, I'm okay with I like chapter 6 topic, but I was thinking that I could just do a poll and people could vote what topic they like the most and that's
Well,
pick.
they how do we right? So we can only get 2 people. So if you want, what I prefer is you volunteer for a chapter, and then we work from there. Now you have to kind of volunteer for 2 chapters. One from chapter, sorry, I keep on saying chapters, and it really is presentation. You have to volunteer for presentation 1 to 5, and then another one from 6 to 10. That's what you kind of have to do. So, Jada, you started sort of. So what are you looking at?
I'm interested in chapter 6.
Chapter 6.
All
All right. So hold on. Copy chapter 6. Let's put you here. But you need one from the 1 to 5 chapters.
No. Go back. Not chapter 9. Not presentation 6. Presentation 3.
Presentation 3.
Yeah.
All right. So now you need one from the 6 to 10. So you're basically volunteering for 2 chapters.
Right. Yes. Give me a second.
I hear you.
So can I do 5?
So who's that? The Leon?
Yes, sir.
All right. Have you thought about presentation 5 or presentation chapter 5?
Oh, presentation 5, chapter 6.
The draft. All right. Okay. So have you seen anything in the second set that you might like?
Um, 9, presentation 9, chapter
Power
4.
and influence. All right. Okay,
So I
that
will
looks
do a
good.
presentation for
Who's that? Broom?
Selena.
Selena.
I could do 4 as well.
All right, hold on. Selena, what's your surname?
Read.
All right. You have to call yourself by your surname, okay? Because Selena, you wanted chapter 4?
Presentation for chapter 7.
All right. Groups and teams. And somebody said something else there just now.
Yeah, I could do presentation 4 as well.
With Selena.
Yeah.
All right, okay. That is Modest, right?
Yeah. So I would like to do presentation 3.
Who that?
Alahase.
Presentation 3. Copy. With Jada.
Yes,
So
sir.
for my last one, could you put me down for presentation 10, the last?
Change, that's Jada, right?
Yeah.
Okay, copy. Chapter 10. Please. All right. So Ms. Hold on 1 second. Before you. So Reed has 1 chapter. Read,
So
you
I
have to.
will chapter. So can you go down a little bit? Uh,
Let me
says
make it a little
presentation eight,
smaller so that
chapter
you might be able
13.
to see all the chapters. All right, go ahead.
Presentation 8, chapter 13.
Vision and strategic direction. That's read, right?
Yes.
All right. So read has 2. De Leon has 2. Modest, you need to choose a second chapter.
I could do presentation 9.
With De Leon.
Yeah.
Okay, I think Aaron, you wanted to, or Josiah, who was it?
Yes, presentation 5 with Julian.
That's Josiah, right?
Yes, sir.
Presentation 5. All right. And you need a second one from 6 to 10.
Presentation 9. Oh,
All right,
that's
that
not taken
need
already.
no. Remember, we can have one group of 3. Well, 2 groups of 3. Or did you want to choose something else in the meantime? Because there are others waiting for people.
No, I like the power and influence. That's like a good topic.
Sounds like a good point. All right, cool. All right, so Christopher has 2. We have one group of 3. All right. Okay. Aaron,
So I will do presentation 1 and presentation 8.
presentation 1 and presentation 8 would read. All right.
Sir, will there be any more groups of 3? Because I wanted to choose presentation 8 as well.
No, but there'll have to be a group of 3 up in groups 1 to 5.
Okay, sir, I'll choose presentation 10 as well then.
10. Who's this, by the way? This Kalisha?
Yes, sir.
So to make sure we're not. All right, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, Manic is in 2 areas. We need some people for presentation 2, because those are the first 2 presentations that go on. Chanel, can I put you in presentation 1 with Manic?
Yes, sir.
Would you like to continue working with him? Oh, well, we already have that set there. What chapter in the second batch would you like to look at?
It really doesn't matter because all the chapters have to learn, so
All of them have to be done. Yes, that's quite correct.
Yep.
All right, so let me put you as the lead in 6. That's being in communities. All
Okay.
right. Is there anybody yet to be assigned to 2? We have a little problem here. It's critical that we actually assign 2 people to presentation 2. Hold on. Let's see who I'm missing. right. I'm gonna put Daniel here. Because I didn't want to put two people who are absent today. Chanel, let me split you off with Manik, all right? I'll put you with understanding others. It's like the flip side of the first chapter, understanding self. All right, Chanel?
Yes, sir.
And I will put the second person who's not here, that's Rampol, in with Aaron. Now, we have to pay attention to what's going on because hopefully these people turn up. Rampol joined the class yesterday, so didn't get her email to her for a bit. All right, now that means I can put Daniel with you for presentation 6. And we have Paul, copy this, presentation 7 here. We have one person who hasn't yet selected a second chapter. All right, this is a bit tricky. I have to make sure everybody is here twice. So let's do this the hard way. Aaron is 1, and then 2. Paul is 1, and then 2. Daniel is 1, and then 2. Chanel is 1, and then 2. Broom is 1, and then 2. Alaha is 1, and then 2. Then we have Reed 1, and then 2. Modest 1, 2. De Leon 2. Christopher 2. I feel like I'm leaving somebody out.
I think Savion.
Xavier, right. That is who's missing. Good, good, good. Thank you. So Xavier needs to go into with Miss Rampol here. And then we need to put her to make one of these groups up here 3. Because everybody has to get 2 opportunities to present. Put her here for now. All right, that's it. So we have 2 teams of 3 each. And 1, 2, 3, 4. All right. So what we will do, so that's 1 and 2. So all right. I'm hoping people aren't confused about what's happening here, but in essence, what we do have is we have rotating groups. So people aren't really necessarily grouping with the same person for more than one chapter. But everybody is going to get 2 bites of the apple, so to speak. So in how this would work is that you would do 2 presentations, and there are 2 things you all need to make a decision about. Do I mark each one out of 50 and then combine the 2 scores you get, or mark them all out of 100 and give you the best score possible? How do you all feel about that? All right. So again, feedback is important.
Knock them all out of 100 and give us the
Mark out
highest
of
mark.
100.
Mark them all out of 100 and give you the highest score. That's what we're saying,
So I
right?
didn't answer the question.
The question is, how do we treat with remember you're going to present twice, right? So the way I'm suggesting to you that we're going to deal with this is that we will mark each presentation out of 100%, and whichever one you get the highest grade in, that's the one you end up with. The highest out of the 2. The
Yeah,
other
okay.
option is that I mark each one out of 50 and then I combine the 2 scores together.
I think the highest out of the 100. First option.
All right. That means, like I said, after you finish your presentation, so like on the 28th of March, the 2 teams will come and present their chapters, and then I'll speak to each team individually by themselves after presentations are done. You just come back in the classroom and I speak to you individually and I give you feedback on what you did right, what went wrong, and that kind of stuff. And that way we will be paying attention to your scores, and you'll get feedback immediately. So you'll know what you need to do for your second turnaround, or what the outcome is at all. Now we have to pay attention to Miss Rampal and Miss Williams. They're in dangerous positions here because I think Daniel works. I'm not sure if that might be the case, but we're gonna have to pay attention to them in 2 circumstances. Hold on a second. Where's the second one?
She's on my section, which is
Williams.
presentations.
Right. Presentation 6. All right, because we have to pay attention to that. Now, additionally, hold on a second. Additionally, we have to pay attention to we have to pay attention to, if we have new students coming in, how we treat with them. We'd have to maybe just add that person to 2 groups again, that kind of stuff. I can't see the class growing beyond
So, and you
Yeah.
had mentioned that some chapters might be a little more weighted.
difficult. Yeah.
So in that case, you can add those numbers to the
Well, again, they would have to go to 2 groups, if you understand what I mean,
true.
right? So, but we'll have to pay attention to Rampol and Williams because they are not here right now. And therefore, because they're engaged for the first and second chapters respectively, you'll want to trade off with them actually, and somebody who's here kind of. What about if I put Xavier with Manic? That might be a kind of swap for later on, just in case Rampol doesn't make it in time. How about that? Just to make it a little safer. Pay attention to it still. Anybody willing to trade with Daniel? Now, understanding self and understanding others is really two sides of the same coin, so to speak. But what I like to do is get them off the first week's presentations because that's a little close to comfort for me at this point. Anybody willing to volunteer to swap with them and move them a little further down? I don't want Nyla and I don't want Selena because they already have a questionable person with them already. But it's chickening out, so I'll let you all know something. Those first two chapters are probably the most straightforward chapters you will come across in terms of presenting. All right, we'll leave it and see. We'll leave it and see. All right, so what I need to do now is update the document that's on the e-classroom. So what I'll do that one time with you guys. Revert to my normal rule. And anything on. So what I want to do is this assignment schedule and document. I have to edit this. File. All right, so this new file should be right. So that's the new date is updated at this point in time. So we'll have the schedule that we're looking at there in terms of the groups that we're looking at this point in time. All right. How you all feel about this? A bit angry. I mean, you do have 3 weeks in which to do your planning and stuff. I just wanted to give Manic and a little more guarantee there. Hopefully Daniel turns up, but if not, we might want to do trading by next week or so. See how that works out. I know it looks a little complicated, but we'll see how it goes. All right. Any questions about this element here?
No, sir.
Anything else you all want to ask about and we get clarification on? Any other things you want to deal with? No? All right. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing at this point and come to the animal selections that you all gave at the beginning of the class when I asked you for it. So, there are a number of people who made some selections and they quite openly stated. So what do you think the exercise is about? Choosing those animals.
So
Based on your personality.
I feel I was bamboozled. I went first. No, don't
So,
laugh because I choose a fish.
yeah, I know you chose a fish. That's why I kept on asking you questions about what kind of fish.
Right.
Not that you have a choice.
But
What kind of fish you think?
I still stick with the idea of being
A fish?
someone. Yeah, a fish. I would like to
You
be a
you're not gonna
saltwater. Probably something that exists deep under the deep blue sea. I
so
don't know.
what kind of fish?
In the ocean. Okay, I'm going with a puffer fish.
Puffer fish. Okay. Why a puffer fish?
I don't know.
You don't know?
Continue with it. I don't know where this
All right.
leading.
So let me start to interpret for you a little bit. Um, so Kalisha came in late and she chose a parrot. Now, parrots are beautiful creatures, but they're what it says about your personality is that you're and this is what the animal choice is saying, right? That they are generally friendly, talkative, and can get up to a lot of mischief. Felicia, does that describe you a little bit?
Yes, sir.
There you go. All right. Jada, you said, well, now that you've upgraded to a pufferfish, gives me a little more information about fish tend to be associated with people who are risk takers, willing to take risks, that kind of stuff. A pufferfish is also a very dangerous fish because it's poisonous and it has now there are two ways to look at it. That it's poisonous if you try to consume it, but also the way in which it protects itself is by making itself appear something that it's not. So they're a little deceptive. Jada, does that describe you a little bit? That you try to kind of come across as something that you're not quite?
I guess so. Yeah.
Huh?
Maybe. I
Me.
think so.
All right. Christopher, Josiah, you chose an eagle, and eagles are predators. So it means that you like to be dominant. But also, one thing about eagles is that because of their ability to fly very high, they're able to see far into the distance and they like to look at the macro picture of things. So it speaks to you being wanting to be or projecting yourself as being a dominant individual, but also somebody who's quite wise and knowledgeable because you have a very broad view of things. Dangers with that being an eagle is that details give you problems. How's that as a descriptor for you, Christopher?
Yeah, that's an accurate description.
Okay. All right. The Leon, Kalisha, you wanted to be a cheetah. So the thing about a cheetah is, yes, they're powerful, but primarily cheetahs are predators. And therefore, when we think of somebody who's a predator, they like to be dominant. So if you're looking at um, any situation that's facing you, you prefer to be dominant. Now, if you think of yourself in like in a relationship or something like that, you're you're going to be dominant. Does that you like to position yourself in dominant roles? Or is that
Yes.
right? So I'm very sorry for your significant others. All right. Okay. Now, Gera isn't here, but um, I'll just put it so she can listen to it later on when she views the video. A fox is usually a tricky individual. They are predators, but they're very sneaky and tricky. Um, so that's something that we probably need to talk to Zaviana about, whether she's a little trickster. But they um, from mythology tells us that a fox is very um, intelligent, very type. So that she would like us to view her as being an intelligent individual, bit of a trickster though. All right, so Manic, Aaron, the Sphinx is giving me a bit of a thing, but the Sphinx is mythical in nature, but the Sphinx speaks to being highly individualistic and very powerful, which speaks to a high level of dominance. So, Aaron, I'm not sure if that's what you want to do, or you just want to be mysterious.
Just mysterious.
Isn't that Sphinx like a cat or something? A cat like
No, well, the version of a Sphinx is a type of cat. But legend, he was specific in that he would want to be the legendary type of Sphinx. They kind of all powerful, all knowing kind of thing. So, I mean, he wants omnipotence in life, basically. Whether or not he can like, actually get is a different issue. Um, right, right, Aaron?
Right. So
What you see the choices you've made here tends to speak to what you would like us to see you as, or what you like to see yourself as, basically. Sharks. So the shark again is like is Nyla, is a predator. Now I was trying to get you to be a little specific.
Oh, I wasn't sure which one to choose. So
Yeah, which type of shark? That's what I was
yeah.
pointing out to you, that they're very domesticated type of sharks, as opposed to very aggressive. But let's take it in terms of the general nature of sharks as the ones that are very aggressive. So again, it's you're a predator. So it means that you like to be in charge
Correct.
and you like things your own way, basically. The same
Kind
thing, kind of. Well, no, you prefer things your way. Let's put it that way.
Yeah,
It's not
kind
that
of.
you're only going to allow your way all the time, because it's rather selfish. But you prefer things your way. But it means that in any relationship, you're going to be the dominant partner. The same thing actually applies to Miss Morris Webster. Um, the lioness is extremely protective of its young, um, and extremely powerful, because lionesses, as opposed to a lion, dominate and do all the work um, in the pride. They do all the hunting and that kind of stuff. The lion himself, he just there for one purpose. But again, the lioness is a predator, and that's how I think Chanel would like to position herself, especially because she has a young cub too. It's unfortunate her cub wants to be a gorilla though, because that speaks to somebody who's going to challenge her when she gets a little older. Chanel?
I don't think it's when she got a little older, you know, because
It starts already? Figured as much.
challenge me. No, no.
Yes, yes. But you are breeding that, huh? You are causing that because she is patterning her behavior and she's learning it from you. You are her leader. So you understand that. The
I
same
would
thing with a go ahead, sorry.
I would lead, but Granny and Grandpa would baby her, so she feel like she have that upper hand.
Generally, that's what grandparents always do.
Exactly.
Right. Selena, the same kind of analysis holds for you in terms of being the lion. The only difference is again, the lion is a predator, so therefore, in relationships, you prefer to be in charge of things. So it speaks to you being wanting to be dominant in terms of what you're dealing with. All right, Selena, how's that as a explanation for you?
Yeah, you could put it that way.
I could put it that way. I mean, it's how you feel
Yeah.
about it. Now, part of the things that y'all are going to engage in is analysis of yourself. And little exercises like these are going to be useful for you to be able to determine more and more, understand more and more about yourself. So on the e-classroom, there's a personality test that you could do online. You feel free to go and do it. Be honest with your responses to the questions, because that's the only way it'll be accurate and be useful. Now, the one that's the online, that's called the 16 personalities test. That's probably the easier one to do. The one that I gave you to download as downloadable sheets, that's a little more tricky. It's based on something called the MBTI methodology. They put kind of wait a little bit, but you could go ahead and do it in anticipation of chapters one and sorry, not chapters one, but presentations 1 and 2 going off, because those both chapters kind of focus on personalities and personality types, because that's what those areas deal with. And then we'll start to understand a little more why it's so important to be looking at understanding yourself and then understanding others and so on. All right. That makes sense so far, guys? Y'all have anything you all want to ask me now about what animal I would have chosen?
Yes, so which animal would you?
Yeah, a teddy bear. Now, what does that say about me? Who would like to do the analysis?
You like to hug people?
Is that all you do with teddy bears? Hug them?
Comfort.
Yeah.
All right, we can start again. What other ideas come from when you hear teddy bear? Security, comfort.
Protection,
Yeah, protection comes there. You feel
loyalty.
safe.
They're very sweet.
You'd like that to think that, huh? Well, are there any downsides to teddy bears?
The the dovey.
They don't pay.
And those speak.
No, they do. So remember, it's personification of an object is not going to necessarily mean that it's not more humanistic. Huh? All right. But teddy bears are people who like to be loved by people, and they go out of their way to help people. That's basically what teddy bears do. They want to be there for you, to comfort you, and to be empathic with you and that kind of stuff. So that's one of the things I will find myself um, in more ways than one, always being that way. Okay. Okay, so we're gonna be wrapping up right at around this time. You all have any questions you want to ask that I should record a response to, or can I shut down my recording now? Well, silence is consent. All right, so I'm going to stop the recording.